In the aggregate, there seems to be consensus among public opinion pollsters that each party, the Liberals and the Conservatives, are within the margin of error of each other, which makes for an incredibly competitive race over the next 5 weeks, but also a high-stakes one. I think those missteps, opposition research in both parties, could end up being key, but also the issue set. Does Donald Trump come to the forefront even more than he already is? Does he recede in the absence of any new threats, for example? All of that could impact ultimately what happens on April 28th.
Okay, you mentioned Donald Trump. We have to talk about this specifically because Mark Carney says he hasn't spoken to Donald Trump and that the U.S. president, as we heard earlier, is waiting to speak to whoever wins this election. So where does that leave Canada in the interim?
Yeah, Mr. Carney said that was his interpretation. We've certainly reached out to the White House to figure out, is that the case? Is he waiting until the outcome of the election? Because I think there's still a lot of stuff happening in the interim, Sandy, as you point to, including the prospect in just a week and a bit of more tariffs. There's some reporting today that perhaps there's fewer, as Abigail was mentioning, than we originally anticipated. But the prospect of the imposition of any additional tariffs in just a week or two certainly could rattle the Canadian economy. So it will be very interesting to see if there is more conversation that ensues and what form that actually takes. For example, is it Mr. Carney himself acting in his capacity as Prime Minister, or is that too politically risky given the X factor that is Trump? All of that something to keep our eyes on over the coming days.